so we'll get started here.
Can I show you something?
Sure. What would you like?
Look.
Ah, yes. It's funny when I'm reading things like this with both, I get so confused as to which one I want to read, and
that one, of course.
Yeah, but that's the problem. And then I'm like, well, I know both, and then both have their merits. But yeah, I end up reading the Byzantine. All right. So there's two major things I want to do is re-go over rhythm that we did last week. Next week I'll bring, next week we won't have class because of the proclasis, unless people want to stay afterwards, but we can discuss that. But I will bring something just to work on the Nipavuis that'll hopefully help make it clear. First we'll sing the scale, we'll kind of rehash a few things, sing through a few exercises, and then go to do, I'll let you know what I want to do. So, Ni Pauga Ni Kezani Ni Zakeli Gaupani. Is that easy?
Big tentative.
What?
Very tentative on the letters there.
Let's hopefully we'll do more with that scale that note name exercise sheet, and hopefully we'll figure out how people are doing. So does everyone remember how many symbols there are, ascending and descending?
10, because I remember 10.
Yeah.
Number 10.
Yeah.
I'm not sure I could get them to you though.
Yeah. So, I mean, do you want me to write them down? Do you want to tell me?
No, I don't think.
You can use a cheat sheet.
Not by name anyway.
Can I use my notes from 2 weeks ago?
So Polygon.
And Kima.
Yeah, the Kendi. So Kendimata, the Petasi, the Kendima, and then
We have like
apostrophos. We got the Iparoi. The Elafron. Ipsili. Okay. And the Hamilis. Yeah. So 1, 2,
What language is that?
5, 6, 7, 8.
What, this
10.
one? Yeah, English. That's good. These are my notes. Oh,
okay.
From 2 weeks ago.
She knows English.
English, you know, Greek.
She's very
Greek. The outside of that looked like the cheap printing for most Balkan books.
We're using another text for the intermediate class.
The cheap Balkan.
So this we got our 10 symbols, just to rehash them. And then to start putting things together, we have active and inactive, and we won't go through that just right now. We'll go through them when we go through the exercises. But then we have this guy, which is our klasma, right? So if he's over Isan, what happens to Isan?
We hold it twice as
beats.
it's longer.
Yeah, 2 beats. So Isan gets tied to an Isan. Okay, so now what if we have, let's say, a dot?
Same deal, only
Same deal.
we have gone down.
Yep. And then what if we have 2 dots?
3 beats.
3 beats. And so we keep going. Now the last thing we talked about last week was to decrease rhythm. So we introduced the gorgon, the digorgon, and the trigorgon, and those are your little bracket guys, right? Remember those? So our digorgon, if I have that guy, let's say, if I have something like this. Anyone?
Takes half off.
It takes
Both.
half a second.
Takes half off both.
So the one it sits on and the one
And
before
one
it.
before.
Yeah. Okay. And then what if I do something like that?
3rd wall, 3rd.
Yeah, they're all 1/3. So one before, and then however many after to make it one full beat, including itself. And then this guy is 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4. And again, always one before, because you can only read so far ahead, so they only put it one forward. And then, but then you have to complete it to make it, one full beat. So this gives you 4, this gives you 3, this gives you 2. All of them 1/2, 1/2, 1/3, 1/3, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4, 1/4.
Are we assuming that it's taking care of syllables?
What do you mean? That there can be syllables on these. especially in Arabic, they have way too many syllables, and so then you have the dun da da dun da da, like they have a lot of these for various syllables just to fill things out and to make it flow correctly. So they end up using a lot of these for that. But a lot of times there aren't syllables on certain ones, but we'll talk about them. So before we get into a little bit of music,
So before you erase it,
Mhm.
what do you mean? You mean that one beat is split in 3 or in 4, or you have 4 beats on the last line?
so this is one beat here.
Split in 4.
Yeah, so this is 1/4 of a beat. This is 1/4 of a beat.
Uh-huh.
This is 1/4, and this is 1/4.
It's equivalent to.
What? Yeah, so these would be 16th notes, all equaling 1/4. This is a triplet. These are 8th notes.
Mm-hmm.
So-
Since the other time signatures are additive and not divisive or multiplied,
Mhm.
to me, the combination of the two is extremely difficult to figure out.
So, do you mean like if I did something like I had
Yes.
like that, and then we
I'm assuming that would be 1.5, half, 1.
Exactly.
But
This one, so you always have to read ahead. So then this one is not really 2 beats, even though it says it's 2 beats,
Yes.
because it's affected by somebody else.
right.
So it's never true to form.
So you have to keep in mind both mathematical systems at once.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yes.
Because it's
Yeah.
Byzantine.
Well, yeah, and it sounds
Literally and
it sounds
figuratively.
it sounds stupid. Like it doesn't really seem why you would do this, and I don't know historically why they decided to do this. Except like I found it helpful, and that eventually when you have a string of these, you just kind of rifle through it, and you're kind of like, wait, how did I do that? Then you're just following all the symbols, and you just kind of are pushing forward.
Mhm.
So I don't know. And we'll practice it, and hopefully it'll become more apparent. So everyone sees 1/2, 1/2, or 1.5, 1/2, and 1 there. So then the other things before we get into some music is if I have our iporoi here, he means down 1, right? So down 1. If I put this on top, what happens?
It's just
Twice
down
as
one.
fast. It's a
I
half.
mean, down 1.5.
So which one's a half? The first one?
No.
Or the second one?
Oh,
Oh, both.
both are half. Wait a minute.
So
Second, because what is on top, it's like if it were on the right.
no, what's on top is on the first. What's on bottom is on the second.
Mm.
But that's
No,
exactly
just the first.
Just the first, yeah. So this one, this essentially means this. So this one is unaffected.
If they wanted
No fear, no fear.
both of them affected, they wouldn't write it like that. They would write it
Then
a
it's
different way.
confusing.
Yeah. So
That's special. to-
whatever's on the top affects the first one. Whatever's on the bottom affects the second one. So that's a special case there. Now so
Just
there's
on
this.
the
Even though we're
ones?
reading from bottom up, otherwise.
Well, so we're descending. So
Yeah, I know, but.
so bottom up when you're ascending, top down.
Oh,
when
right.
you're descending. But yeah, this one affects the first one, and bottom affects the second guy. And then, so what was your question, Patricia? Or
Is this just on the gorgons, the various gorgons?
yeah,
Okay.
all those guys. But then let's say if I were to do this, now I have a dot on the bottom, right? So that goes in this guy. That's another permutation of things. And this, I'm just putting a few special cases up here just to show you how things work. And there's another symbol that we'll get into, which is called the adjoining elaphrone. So we saw elaphrone, which is this guy. He gets connected to an apostrophos, and I'll talk about historically why. But this one, this symbol together also means down 1, like that. So this little connected symbol. And this is it's called syneches elaphrone, so, but syneches in Greek just means connected or adjoining, like they're connected together. So it's a symbol that connects it to the previous note. So I just write connecting or continuing or adjoining, alafron. And we'll see this in practice. But this is just like another combo, and together it makes this. And I'll say why once we get into some music. But the one thing I want to point out is that this looks a lot like this, right? There's got to be a reason.
Looks exactly like
Yeah, it is. And so there has to be a reason, and because there's always some reason why there's an exception or some reason why there's a special case. The reason here is, let's say I put an isan there and an isan here. This is la all the way across. This can be la, la. So this has a place to sit on. This one has nothing, because again, you can't put a syllable on the iparoi. So this one here is la through and through, and this one gets la for these two, 1/2, 1/2, and then a second one there. So whenever you see this, normally there are exceptions in longer music, but a lot of the brief music, you can count on the fact that there will be another syllable there. Does that make sense? And so there's two different reasons for them. And then the final thing before we get into music, and this hopefully won't confuse you tremendously. This makes sense to me. Can I erase this or?
Mm-mm.
Okay, I'll write it beneath then. So now the question is, we saw this, and then we also saw this, and we said they're different because we read.
Can I go back up to where you had the elafron? Is the elafron therefore something that, in that combination, syndesmos or whatever it was, elafron, is a way of emphasizing the upcoming syllable, accenting it.
Yeah, you can do that. What they the historical reason is that, and I can say it now, is that they used to write this, okay? So let's say, ni pavuka li vu, so it'd be la la. At some point, people, through and through, they said, I forget what century it was, but they said, well, that's kind of boring, so they go, la la, just kind of connect the two. And so as a way of writing it and telling everyone else around them that I'm going to do that, they said, okay, let's just make a little notation there, saying, put the extra note in there, just connect the two of them. So over time, this got bigger and bigger, and then eventually you have that, which connects the two notes, whereas before it would have been a discontinuous jump. It just been la la, now it's la la, connects the two together. So this is more an interpretive marking that eventually got pulled into the actual Byzantine notation. It was just some way of the tradition interpreting things, and now it's reality. So, does that make sense? Okay, and again, we'll see this in practice in just a moment. And this is the final thing that I'll introduce right before we do this. So, up one, up one, up one, up one. We read bottom up, bottom up. So this one, kandimata second. This one, your kandimata is first. Now, if I do that, and I do that, I'm going to tell you what happens. But so your gorgon always sits on your kandimata. It always affects the kandimata. That's just how it works, and I can tell you why in a second. But so this one means that we have oligon followed by your kandimata with, I'll just put it on the bottom. So this is 1/2, 1/2. This one is the opposite way. So this kandimata comes first, oligon comes second. Your gorgon sits on the first one. So this is again, this one's 1/2, and the previous one is 1/2, but your oligon is 1. And the way that I've rationalized this to myself is the fact that your kandimata is unstressed, right? And so it's always, it never has a syllable, and it's always unstressed. So if you put the gorgon on a symbol, that symbol by nature is going to be on the second of the two notes. So it's always going to be, if you have 1 and 2 end, it's always going to be on the end of this combo. It's going to be 1 end, 2 end. The upbeat there is always unstressed because it's 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and. So the end is always unstressed, which means that for practical purposes, if it worked oppositely, you'd have your kandimata on a stressed beat, which doesn't really make sense. So your kandimata by nature, if there's a gorgon and a combo symbol, it always sits on the kandimata, so that he's always unstressed, and it re-emphasizes the fact that he's gonna be an unstressed syllable.
Where does the other half a beat come from?
The previous note,
Okay.
whatever it is. Okay, is that? We'll see this in action in a second. So.
Gets other half.
And that's a lot at the moment, but I just wanted to show you the little things. Since we already talked about rhythm last week, it was kind of a rehashing and a little bit of introduction of new things. So, any questions before we look at some music? Okay, so everyone have the little Greek manual.
This one?
Yes, that one.
Starting with number which?
Let me see.
I ended up with 2 of these.
Oh. Well, that's, okay. Oh, right, last week. I think you didn't have the front page, so I'm glad you found it. Okay, let's go to exercise 61.
Am I supposed to have this one?
Did I give it while you were gone?
Mm.
Maybe I did. I have another one in my school bag in the car. Or I might have one right here. I probably do.
If you, okay, 20,
What?
page 20, you
Oh.
have it 23.
61?
Page 23.
Yeah, exercise number 61.
I don't have more than 20.
Okay, here we go.
That's why I had 2, because we got 20 as part of the other package.
Thank you.
Okay, so everybody have exercise 61? Okay, so this one's fairly simple. So if we can do it on ni pa vu, that'd be good. And this one, it's we go ni pa vu pa ni ni zo ni. So hopefully that's pretty good. So everybody ready? 61. Ni 1 2 1. Ni 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 pa 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 pa. Vu 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 pa 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 pa. Ni 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 zo ni. Okay, that was a little fast, but the one thing you'll notice with a lot of these rhythmic ones is that if you try and make the rhythm slow, then the single beats is ni zo, and it gets really drawn out. So I'll try and keep it at a good tempo. 62. So look at it for a second and see what's going on with the rhythm.
Ducimos, whatever that is.
Yeah, so this is all duple meter. And so essentially pretty much everything is a half a beat except for the last 3 notes. Can we do this on let's do this on la, even though it's really easy, but we'll do it on la to start, and then we'll do it a second time on ni pa vu. So number 62, that'll be our ni 1 2 ni pa, sorry, la. That's what I said. La 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 do it one more time on Nipavu Gai Kizoni. Let's see how it goes. Ni Nipavu Gai Kizoni Pani Zoke Vigavu Pani Zoni. Okay. Number 63. Any questions or? 63 should hopefully clarify any questions that you may have had so far. So, number 63. Let's go just on La. So, 1, 2, La, 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 la. 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 How was that? Was it okay? Any good ones? Okay. 64. Similar, but different. So, and at some point maybe we'll go back and do these on Nipavu. I would love to do them on Nipavu, but it's initially a hindrance, so we'll get to that at some point. As hopefully Patricia will agree that Nipavu is eventually helpful. Eventually
It
helpful.
took me over a year
Yep.
to come to that conclusion.
Yeah. So.
Over a year.
So at the moment we'll keep on La. So 64. 1, 2, 1. La, 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 la. 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 La, 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 la. Okay.
That's good.
Hmm? Any questions there? Galena?
Well, almost at the end of each one of these phrases, you're showing a note with a class on it, which seems to be only 2 beats total,
Hmm?
but we're doing it 3 or 4.
Nope.
No?
La, 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 la. 1, 2, off.
Okay.
So it's 2 beats in entirety.
Seemed longer.
Yeah, I think it's because of the rhythms. Because I'm sitting there, I'm like, man, how long is this note?
Going on forever.
It's kind of surprising. If you do things really slowly, it just makes it seem interminable.
It's not longer.
So 65. So yeah, let's do 65. I'll give you guys a second just to look it over and see where the rhythms are and. Alright. So ni. So 1, 2, la All right, how's that? Kind of mixes up the little things.
I forget to hold the normal ones long enough.
Yeah. Eventually, we'll bring it back to normal speed, and then it'll hopefully be a little bit easier. Okay, can we move on to 66 and 67? Okay. So this is why I introduced a bunch of them at the same time. It's because they just bring them all in the same exercise. So if you look at the bottom of the page, you can see how they expand. They kind of exegete what the symbol means. And so your gorgon, there it always sits on the kendimata, and then your iporoi, it sits on the first one. So, all right, this will illustrate the difference between your two combo symbols that we were discussing. So 66, let's do la, because it'll demonstrate a little bit more. So 66, 1, 2, 3, la, 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 la. So that second part where the iporoi came in, that was
So that is the one which make
yep. La 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 la. And this one,
It's using the la that makes it sound much more understandable than the nipavu.
yeah, because if you were to do nipavu, it'd be vigavu ga gavu pavu vupani pa panizoni, but you don't get the essence of the note. You don't really understand why is it there like that. So la helps. There was one guy, some teacher in Greece, they were doing this for an English speaker, and they wrote out a bunch of words under these things and put out like little syllables like te ri ri rem, which is a certain type of hymn. So they put like te ri ra ri 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 rem, so you could at least have something to say as opposed to la. But I don't have his copy, and so I don't know what the teacher did. So I'll have to get it at some point. 67. So different symbol combo, but we get a bunch together, and this is where I assume it's gonna make sense, but I didn't specifically mention if you have something like this, which we've seen before. This one affects this guy and this guy. You know, pretty much straightforward, 1/2, but they're still a combo that is worth mentioning. So, but it's not unique enough to really hold anything new. So, and be aware of the page turn here. So just be ready for it. So,
My old nemesis.
so ni, 1, 2, 3, la. or is that okay? I assume everyone now sees what we're
So
doing.
what is this one?
No, because I kept starting to look at the next thing and fire away, so I'm.
Oh, I
kept
see.
Looking, where is the rest of that?
La la.
No.
Nope. The bottom one is just the helper symbol. It's inactive.
Ah.
Mhm.
Ah.
Yep. He just is connecting them together to tell you it's one syllable.
Ignore this.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I didn't.
Yeah, I a lot of people have done that in the past, so it's a common thing to do. But yeah, that symbol, the oligon there, is just acting as support, not as
Should
as
be
its own
red.
symbol.
So
Hmm?
Should be a red or something.
Yeah. So keep going or do that one again.
Let's do that one again.
Okay.
I didn't turn right.
67. 1, 2, 3. La 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 the most of the time with the la 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 in actual music, you won't normally go like that. You'll normally go la la, but every so often you do. So, you can sing it either way, I believe. 68 is just your combining of essentially just again the same symbols that we've been doing. So, 68. 1, 2, 68. La 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 How was that? Repetitive, but hopefully it's making some sense.
So this symbol is ah. Huh?
1 and 2.
Ah.
La.
And it's because of this one or because of both of them?
The top one gives you the 1/2.
This one. Ah.
Nope. So this one is up one, and this one means down one, down one. But the first one's gonna be 1/2 beat, and this one's gonna be a 1/2 beat because of the gorgon.
Ah, this is minus.
This is 1/2.
Ah, so this is minus one.
This so it's 1/2 one, 1/2 one.
1/2 one.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's
So
1.5 here.
nope,
No,
nope, nope. 1 second. So
listen to me on that. And these get split into one.
this
This
guy.
is one split. One half, one half.
So this means so this is 1/2. So this is 1 beat here because it's not affected by anything. This is 1/2 because it's got the gorgon on top of it. And then this one
previous is
1/2. So then this one is 1/2, and then this is 1/2. 1.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Doesn't make the count anyway.
Yeah. So. All right. Everyone else see that? All right.
I'm really having a problems with the difference in time between these two.
Okay.
It's throwing me off.
Okay.
And I know which way you go up, but I think there's something about the rhythms that I'm still not getting.
Like how they're connected and everything?
Yeah. Or
You
just,
did these cards yourself or you bought them?
oh no, I make them myself.
Uh-huh.
Remedial. I'm very remedial.
We were thinking about making flashcards because a bunch of the people that we were working with in Pittsburgh, they all had flashcards.
Mhm.
And it seemed like all the women had flashcards and all the guys were too proud for flashcards. Like they were like, I don't need no flashcards. So so they were willing to embrace stupidity, idiocy, at the sake of their ego. So but we were thinking about it, and then the more that I see people with them, it's like maybe it would be worth it just to have little pre-made flashcards.
Flashcards, yeah.
Make a workshop for it.
Yeah. So but if you look at, let's say, 66 and 67, you know, it's ni pa vu pa, as opposed to 67 ni pa vu pa, because the one is just connected to the first note. The other one is kind of its own symbol. It's kind of self-sufficient, because that's the symbol combo in 66 is 1 beat. The symbol combo in 67 is 1.5 beats.
Good luck.
I can't guarantee that it will.
If we're going, so it's 2 notes in 1 beat.
Well, this is 1.5.
Oh, that's the one in.
Ah.
See. 2
Yeah.
notes in.
Because the oligon on top is 1 beat, and the bottom is 1/2 beat.
I know you've explained that. It's just
Maybe we could extract that one little sound file from the Margaziotis
Mm-hmm.
for each one of those exercises so that we can imprint it into our head by sleeping with it overnight.
I would love to do that to you. That'd be,
But you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah.
It does have those little sound files. This is the program that has this little sound file.
Ni pa vu pa, pa vu ga vu, vu ga di ga.
as opposed to,
Ni pa vu pa, pa vu ga vu, vu ga di ga.
and if you want the comment.
67.
I understand finally.
There you are. Exinda epta. Tells you everything about what you ever wanted to know. So those are up online again. If anyone wants to listen to those, they're kind of fun. Sometimes he's too emphatic about certain things. Shall we do anything? Anyone want to do any 66, 67, 68, 69? Or okay, so 66.
66.
I thought we were on 60.
How about the first measure of all 3, one after another?
Okay.
No, I was kidding.
Oh, okay.
Can't you tell by
Well,
his
actually,
face?
it makes sense.
Because that would be really, because you have to switch
Yeah,
really fast.
Let's see, how do we do this?
analytically, that makes perfect sense.
Let's do the first measure of 66 and the first measure of 67 right after each other. So,
Let's listen
Do you
to
know what I mean?
Maria. Oh, this do it for us first.
well, I can't splice them together like that.
You can't.
No. Well, I can't go la 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 la. You can't. I can't do that quickly. Okay, so 66 first measure followed by 67 first measure.
And then we repeat.
No.
No.
It wouldn't work that well. So ignore the martiria, because obviously we're not going to start on ni on 67. We're going to start on pa. So 66 followed by 67. 1, 2, 3. La 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 la. Sounds like you want to keep going. Does that clarify anything?
So how do you remember that in the 67 that the rhythm thing applies to the first that you sung
And the
as opposed to
Candida
in
time.
66 when it doesn't? How do you
I-
remember that? Is
so-
there a rhyme or reason?
The way that I kind of look at it, it's not necessarily a rhyme or reason. Besides knowing that the Gorgon always sits on the Kendimata in those symbol combos, he just always gets it. So this, sorry, these are two individual components to me. This is one, and this is another thing. It happens to have two beats in it. This is one component because these are all connected together. So to me, you go like this. This one, you go this, and then this. And so this, whenever I always see them as one unit because they are one unit linguistically for a syllable. So you always sing them as one unit. This you do not. So then, because of that, when I see this, I ignore the fact that this exists because la, this is one unit, and I know this has two beats. This makes it one full beat because it makes both of them a half a beat. This one, because this is one unit, this ends up going through, and so then that's kind of how
Is that something you made up?
that's just how I look at it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, just seeing them as unique units here. This is not a unique unit because this is connected to that.
Okay.
Why is this connected and the other one is not?
Because you read bottom up, and your Kendimata can never have a syllable. So this would always be la all the way through. This one could be two syllables.
Oh, okay.
So, because of that syllabic connection, this is one unit for me. This is not. This is two units.
Mhm.
So,
Hypothetically, giving it two syllables, how would you sing it with two syllables?
la la la.
So that's all one syllable?
All one
This-
syllable.
The whole thing is one syllable?
Yep. It would take up two beats total, but this is one syllable. This can be two, and most of the time I would say it probably is. At least in this type of combo.
Can you
Oh, I
sing
remember
again?
this.
La la la. So 1, 2, and 3. 1 and 2, 3.
That makes this helpful because it has another third note to go with it, so you can see how the syllables work.
Which one?
That makes these exercises useful because it shows you how how it works with syllables,
Mm-hmm.
even if he doesn't have any.
Yep. Even if he doesn't know it. So, and that's I think specifically why. Just spreading it. This is me at my home on my desk. It's like just goes. That's specifically why the teacher in Greece, Arvanitis, he wrote it out with all these syllables because he was like, it doesn't really make sense. You can't internalize it unless you have syllables to go along, and then you can see the differences. So, someday I will figure out what he did. Move on, keep going there, switch gears and move to something other than rhythm. Let's do 69 and 70 and 71 just to finish out those, because this will answer Galina's question from earlier. So, 69, again, you have now your plasma, but it's affected by Gorgon, so it has 1/2 beat taken away. So 1.5 followed by 1/2. So this would be ni pa pa vu ga, that type of thing. Okay. So 69. Any questions? Shall we sing it?
So this one is two, right?
No.
First one.
Wait, by himself.
by itself.
Yep.
This one should be 1, but it's a half.
Mm-hmm.
And that half of what applies here? Of 1 or of 2?
It takes away half a beat.
Half a bit only.
Half a beat only.
Not half of
Nope.
whatever.
Nope.
Ah.
Yeah, it doesn't cut it in half. It takes away a half a beat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
So, 69. Ni, 1, 2. Ni, la, 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 la. You can tell how much I want to sing Ni Pavu.
Yes.
I'm about to start everything on Ni. Does that make sense? 69?
Mhm.
Okay, let's do 70. 1, 2. La, 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 la. La, 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 la. And sometimes, I don't know if it'd be helpful for you all, but a lot of the times, like when they're teaching these to Greek students, they always use their fingers a lot. So it's always 1, 2, and on the upbeat is end. So it'd be 1 and 2 and la, la, la. So I think it's only Jeff in our intermediate class, but whenever we're chanting a hymn now, it's always Ni pa mu ga li ke li. So, and that's always there. And a lot of chanters at the chanter stand, you'll see them, like, because the chanter stand is wood, it doesn't make much noise. It just makes enough for the local community, the chanters. And so you just hear it tap, 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 just to make sure that you're keeping the rhythm and keeping everything going. So, if you feel so inclined, you are allowed to tap. I'll be tapping with a marker. So, 71. What
Can
are...
we do 70 again?
Sure. So, Ni, 1, 2, 1. La, 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 la. 71. What are our first 3 notes?
I'm looking at my notes from someone, so I'm going, no, this is wrong, balls are just crossed.
71.
So the first one is Ni, and that happens to be then Vu. And then what's the next one? Ni, Vu, Li.
It's 1 through 5.
Yep, 1 through 5. And the first beat has how many, or the first note has how many beats?
2, no, 1.5.
1.5.
1.5. Second note has how many beats?
Uh-huh.
Half. Okay. The third and the fourth note?
1 each.
1 each. And then the next ones after that is
We transfer the
1.5
I don't have to.
and a half.
I don't have to. Third and
1,
fourth.
2, 3, 4.
What is that?
That's a part of the. This is one symbol combination.
Ah.
Yeah. That's the kendima with your oligan acting with it as support. I think that might have been a week when you weren't. We were talking about active and inactive oligans, and we'll re-go over it at some point.
When do you start a new beginner class?
I'm gonna put these videos up so that we can review what we
They're
learned.
all up on. I'm gonna send you the links to the previous ones. I ran out of time. I'm currently overutilizing the space on Ustream. They keep emailing me and saying you're over quota, and so I have to put them somewhere else on YouTube. But then I have to annotate them to say what we did in the video so that people know. So I have to. That's the first thing I have to do is annotate them before we actually lose the videos. We lose them on August 3rd, 22nd, something like that. So I have a few days. I will get it done. Because each one of these videos is like 500 megabytes. So if I have, 2 classes and 5 videos each, it's
And how much storage space?
they give me 10 gigabytes for free.
Okay.
Is
Yeah.
this Twinkle Twinkle Little Star?
Well, which one?
71? I was just humming and it sounded like Twinkle.
It's almost. Dun 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 dun. Almost.
Oh,
Dun dun
yeah.
dun 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 dun.
Not quite copyright infringement.
Mm-hmm. Is Twinkle Twinkle copyrighted?
And the exam will
I
be
don't
you
think so.
sing and we wrote that.
It's funny. We did dictation in the intermediate class a long while ago when they were still beginners, and maybe we'll do that again. Something like where I sing something and you write it down.
I have to-
Interesting.
I have to miss this class.
Would be something like if I go ni pa vo ga di, then you write down what I sang.
And how much time?
I give you a minute, as much as it's
Each
necessary.
note.
Yeah.
Okay.
What? Say again.
Ni pa vo
Start looking
ga
at
di.
Jean's notes. Yeah. Oh, that's what you're doing.
No cheating, no cheating. This is unorthodox.
Oh,
Unorthodox.
it's unorthodox.
71. So this one, now that you know how it sounds, let's sing it on La. And it's ni fu di. 1, 2, 1. La 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 Okay. So, does that make sense? Okay. What I'd like to do is we're gonna stop at 72, and then we're gonna sing an actual piece of music, and then we'll be done. And you already have a piece of music, so we'll do that. So this 72 just adds a bunch of things, just to let you know. So this is in 4-beat rhythms. So this is gonna be tough, and this is why we'll stop there with exercises. So I'll sing it first, slowly, just a little bit of it, and let me know if it makes sense. So 1, 2, 3. Ni zo ke zo ni pa ni zo ni pa vo pa ni pa vo ga di 2, 3, 4, and then it keeps going. Does that make sense to people? So the first note is 1.5 because it's acted upon by the gorgon.
So the dot underneath only affects the last
The last one.
part of
Yep.
whatever it is.
So it ends up becoming 1.5, 1/2, and 2.
Yeah.
And it's this type of thing where maybe we won't sing it right now because I think it might just be better just to look at it for the moment. But this is where when I was learning music initially, I would sit there and the rhythm was disbelievable. I looked at it and I was like, it doesn't make any sense. That doesn't work. And then you go and you're like, well, this one is acted on by that guy, and that makes this 1/2. And you're like, oh, it does work. It all checks out. And so like for this one, the first symbol looks like it's 2 beats, but it's not 2 beats because it's acted upon by the gorgon, making it 1.5. The first symbol of the iparoi is 1/2 because it's acted upon by the gorgon. The second one is acted upon by the upli, so that gets to be 2 beats. So 1/2, or 1.5, 1/2, and 2. So this is where you kind of have to start writing things out, unless it makes obvious sense. So do people want to sing 72 or do a piece of music? Yes, go ahead.
I want to have the 1/2, 1/4, and so on and so forth with the scheme on this one, like they have in the previous one and the one after.
On the
In other words,
yes.
I want it broken down for me very easily.
Mm-hmm.
See, this is broken down easily. This one is broken down very easily in the
Mhm.
schema. This one doesn't give you a clue.
No, it does, doesn't it?
Wait.
Right before 72?
No.
It's
for
right above it.
72, didn't write it down for us.
No, it says it right above it.
You mean the fractions?
Yes.
Oh, it doesn't know the fractions,
Yeah,
right?
this is not this one.
You can write the numbers in yourself if you'd like. I can write them on the board. You want to write them on the board? Okay. Let me just switch my screen real quick.
It makes it easier.
Okay. And these are things that I would take into account when I make my English version of this, the rest of it, which is when time allows. So, I assume the English one is more helpful than the Greek one.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you said no, I would cry.
Oh my word.
Okay, so these equal the same thing. So this is 2 beats, because it's not acted upon by anything else. This is 1/2 beat, because it's acted upon by the gorgon. This one affects the previous symbol, which is this guy. This was 2 beats, gets a 1/2 beat taken away, so he's 1 1/2.
So this is 1 1/2, 2.
So this is 1 1/2, and this one here is 1/2, 2. I don't know what's the best way to do that. A little plus there, because it's one symbol. I guess I could write it just side by side. It's a math equation, times 1. So, does that make sense? Okay. So I heard someone say that they wanted to sing 72. Everybody else okay with singing 72? Okay.
As long as you start low.
How's it go?
It goes very high.
No.
It doesn't?
No, only goes up to K.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. La. Alright, how's that? Getting a little better? Hopefully the last measure was fine. La, la, la. Brings back all the old stuff. When life used to be good. So, when life used to be simple and
simple. There's no time.
straightforward, yeah. Everyone have a wall loaded martyrs? Or the Lord I've cried in tone 5, tone cycle 1? Let's do all loaded martyrs. I think that was last week that I handed it out.
Yeah.
Again,
It looks like this. Maybe you don't have it.
I think
yeah, you might have to share for the moment because I have an extra copy in my car. But,
I can look at the Venus.
yeah, and I can get you another copy.
I made mistakes anyway, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't have one immediately handy. It's probably in that packet somewhere. Okay. So our first note that we said is pa, and you'll just have to trust me on that one. But so we start on pa, but then our first actual sung note. So our basis note is pa, And then our first actual sung note is
Ooh,
no,
The
Wait,
The.
ha, vu, ga, ga.
the, because that one's up 3.
yeah.
So anane pa vugadi. Yeah, it's always 3 from, not 3 including. One second, let me get my music on my screen. So, so everything else should be pretty straightforward. It's all regular rhythms, just little jumps here and there, except for the end, which we discussed last week, which is you have your mercy to our souls, last line. You have your apostrophos. It's got a dot beneath it. Ignore the little swoopy Nike, upside down Nike symbol. It's got a dot there. That means that technically it's 2 beats, but now you know it's being acted upon by the gorgon. So it's actually 1.5 beats. The next one is 1/2, and the next is 2. It almost sounds like the gorgon's like an evil character. It's like it's being acted upon by the gorgon. It is under the spell.
isn't it
Well,
like
it makes it look
Smurfs?
sad.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Gargamel.
Gargamel. Yeah.
Yes.
Almost.
Isn't the Gorgon some sort of monster?
Mhm.
Greek myth,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh. So maybe.
yeah. Medusa was one of the Gorgon sisters.
Oh.
There were 3 of them.
Yeah. So maybe because this one is transforming and acting upon the other ones and making them do what they want.
Well,
By
it
the
makes you
Gorgon.
look backwards,
What does each
because if
one
you look
mean?
at returning stones, it
Oh.
look backwards.
Retroactive.
So you
Retroactive.
don't turn stones.
Ah. I will have to write that. So in,
You
It is.
really
You must-
have to look backwards when you turn to stone?
well, that's
If you look
Yeah.
at her face.
Yeah, if you look at the gorgon.
Oh, right. So this
Snakes.
would make sense.
yeah. So you always look backwards one note.
Yes. This is great.
Retroactive rhythm. Retroactive rhythm. See, this is why you can all be collaborators on this book. I'm right. and give all these things that are probably like in no
I'm not
Greek
sure,
textbook.
You should put that one in the book.
I'm gonna put whatever I want.
Yeah, that one's excellent.
I'm sure, like I look at some Greek textbook and it would all be theory, and ours is like, and snakes, and look backwards. 'Cause
But that has nothing to do with Smurfs. I
Yeah.
think, Yes.
It all think Smurfs, think the blue little guys, which apparently in Greek is istrumphs. I don't know why they got that. I don't know how you translate Smurf into Greek, but apparently they did.
But in Swiss they say Strumpf. Le
Strumpf?
Strumpf.
What? Huh?
Le Strumpf.
Yeah. Is that what it?
The movie.
What is?
Le
Strumpf?
Strumpf. They call them Strumpf.
Yeah, that's what it is in Greek too. So.
I mean, in French, no,
Yeah.
they are originated in Swiss, but
Huh. All right.
Is it something like Stone for People?
no, it's Strumpf,
messy people.
like Strumpfette, it's the girl, because it's
Yeah.
Strumpf.
Smurfette. Oh, that's funny.
My American ears, it sounds really bad.
Yeah. That's good. Oh, all out of Mario. So we start on Pa. You know how to do the end, the to our souls, which is a little flutter in there, which I'll do. But let's start. So, anane, that'll be our Pa. So, on the words, 1, 2, 1. Oh, unlauded martyrs of the Lord, Lord, the earth concealed you not, but rather heaven received you, and the gates of paradise welcomed you and opened. We're gonna stop there. Any questions? Just little jumps here and there. Okay, keep going. And as ye now dwell therein, ye joyfully partake of the tree of life. Thus intercede, we pray, with the mouth and that he grant peace and great mercy to our souls. So we start on thee. So if this is pa, where's thee?
Yep.
But where is it? I agree, it's three on. Bugadi, I like it. That he grant peace and great mercy to our souls. Our souls. So 1, 2, and 3, 4. Okay. Any questions? Alright. Hopefully that wasn't too much. But hopefully over the week it'll kind of sink in, and eventually next week, or whenever we meet next, we'll have to figure out. Then it'll be like, oh yeah, that rhythm. I got it. I've got rhythm.